The Hockey Hall of Fame is a place where the greatest and most influential hockey icons of all time have their names enshrined forever in glory. With the likes of Maurice Richard, Bobby Orr, and Wayne Gretzky, the select few who are inducted every year motivate the younger generations to strive for their success. This year is no different, with first ballot nominees Nicklas Lindstrom and Chris Pronger being a sure thing. Every Hall of Fame season brings a debate in those who don't get the nod. Eric Lindros is one of those players. Since 2010, Eric Lindros has been on the ballot but has never been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Seen as one of the best power forwards of his generation, does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, or is he being snubbed? It's time to drop the gloves. Eric Lindros versus the Hockey Hall of Fame. Hey guys, so Drop the Gloves is a new hockey series that I'm bringing to you guys where I pit two hockey topics together and they face off in a hockey fight type matchup. Obviously, we're not on ice and there isn't an actual fight, but we can metaphorically picture Eric Lindros dropping the gloves with the Hockey Hall of Fame. So with that, let's get started. Before we get into the fight, let's just take a look at Eric Lindros' stats. In 760 games played, he amassed 372 goals and 493 assists for 865 points in the regular season, might I add. In the playoffs, he played 53 games and he racked up 57 points. He's a Hart Trophy winner in the lockout short 94-95 season, and he's a 7-time All-Star with an Olympic gold medal. So let's start the fight, and Eric Lindros is going to come out swinging. So here's the argument for why Lindros should be in the Hall of Fame. Since 2010, the Hall of Fame Selection Committee has left 4 slots unfilled. That means Lindros isn't being voted in when there are open slots. So it's not like he's being bested by players who are better, quote unquote. And what's interesting to note is that every modern era eligible Hart Trophy winner is in the Hall of Fame but one. Eric Lindros helped change the way the game was played, using his size to accompany his skill in a dominant 10-year period from 1992 to 2001. Ranking only behind Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr in points per game from 92 to 99, Eric Lindros asserted himself as one of the best players of his generation. A 7-time NHL All-Star and Olympic gold medalist, one would think he would be a lock for induction into the Hall of Fame. But here's where the Hall of Fame starts to come in and throw their punches. Even before Eric Lindros suited up in the NHL, he had major attitude problems as a teenager. He refused to play for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds when they drafted him in the OHL, and then he refused to play for the Quebec Nordiques when they drafted him first overall in the NHL. But aside from an ego that seemed like it couldn't be contained, Lindros only made the playoffs 6 times in his career, and he only made the Cup Finals once where he lost. Hall of Fame inductees are positive ambassadors to the game, and those who lead by example while dominating their peers earn their slot in hockey's greatest shrine. While none can argue how dominant Lindros was in his healthy playing days, he always put himself before the team. He wasn't a role model, and for his entire career, he could never shrink that ego of his. The Hall of Fame is more than just hockey and statistical achievements, and because Lindros never showed the respect for the game that he needed and that so many of his peers did, he will never be a Hall of Famer. So now we've heard both sides of the argument. The first side for why he should be a Hall of Famer, his numbers alone, if you compare him to inductees like Pavel Bure, should put him in there even without a Stanley Cup. But because of his attitude problems, because he always made himself bigger than the game, he never showed the respect for the game that he needed to, the Hall of Fame Selection Committee must take that into consideration. Because like I said, the Hall of Fame, they like having ambassadors for the game, players who were positive role models and who dominated their peers at the same time. And honestly, it's a real shame. I'm going to conclude with this, that Eric Lindros does not deserve to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. As great as he was, and as skilled as he was, and as much as he changed the game, and he paved the way for big power forwards to make their mark, like Brendan Shanahan, who came in after him, and during his playing days, the attitude problems, even when he was 16 years old, refusing to join the junior team that drafted him. He could have been a guy that turned the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds into a winner in the OHL, and then he could have taken the Quebec Nordiques into a winner, even though Quebec won the Stanley Cup in 1995 as the Colorado Avalanche, the year that they were relocated. Lindros had the opportunity to be the franchise player, to be the guy to come in, and despite the fact that he didn't want to play in Quebec City, he could have been the guy to lead the team to greatness. Instead, he puts his ego before everything else. He thinks he's too good for Quebec. He ends up going to Philadelphia, and he had a great playing career in Philadelphia. But in a 13-year NHL career, he only made the playoffs 6 times. 6 times in 13 seasons. That's less than 50%. And I know that doesn't really say much, but he was only able to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals once. So as a playoff performer, he wasn't super dominant. And to be fair, he was going up against teams that were better overall, because you can't be a one-man army. But in the end, Eric Lindros, he has been passed over 5 times. As of this week, he will be passed over a 6th time. I guarantee it. The Hockey Hall of Fame, they're not going to induct you, Eric Lindros. It's not going to happen. You were a great player on the ice, but because in the end, it's because of your attitude. You weren't a role model. You weren't a great ambassador for the game. Kids, they liked watching you because you could score goals, but it's everything else. You weren't the player that you could have been. I don't blame injuries on that. Obviously, injuries you can't control. But I'm going to give this fight to the Hockey Hall of Fame. And Eric Lindros, you are knocked out. You're unconscious. You have another concussion to go along with the mini that you have. You've lost this fight. So I want to hear from you guys. Do you think Eric Lindros deserves to be a Hall of Famer? Do you think, putting his ego aside, his attitude problems, and the fact that he wasn't a great role model for the game of hockey, putting all that to the side, do you think Eric Lindros should be a Hall of Famer? Why or why not? I want to hear from you. Post in the comment section below or message me. You can find me on Twitter. That'll be in the description below. If you guys want to see more Drop the Glove series, I've got a whole bunch of topics that I'd love to pit head-to-head against each other, have arguments for and against, and then have you guys engaged in the comment section giving me your thoughts. If you guys enjoyed this Drop the Gloves video and you want to see more of this style of video from me, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I will bring a ton more. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.